Hi darlings. For those of you who forgot how to draw a graph from a slope-intercept form, here's a reminder. For those of you who had never learned it in the first place, there's no time like the present. So when you have a slope-intercept form, to draw a graph, you'll only need to figure out the 2 points, because a line can be drawn through any points, and there's a single line through those 2 points that you can draw. So let's look at our first slope-intercept form. That's number 31 from our worksheet. 2 points that we're looking for. One of those points is already neatly defined for us. That's the y-intercept. So all I need to do is find this -5 as the y-intercept, and I mark that point. Then I need just one more point. And in order to figure out what that point is, I can choose x to be anything I want. So let's say I decided that x should be 2. Then what I do is I look at my y-intercept form. It says -3x minus 5. So instead of x, I just plug in 2. So then y should be -3 times 2 minus 5 will be -11. So y should be -11. That is too low. So, well, let's see if I can choose another x and be luckier with my result. I will go with a negative number then. And I'm going to choose it to be -2. If x equals -2, this is replaced with -2. The rest remains the same because such is the equation. -3 times -2 is 6. 6 minus 5 gives me 1. So when x equals -2, I'm going to look for a y on this line where x is -2. Y, according to my equation, should be 1, and that would be this point right here. So now, let me highlight them for you. That's 1 point, and that's my y-intercept, which I knew from the very beginning just by looking at the equation. So now that I have these 2 points, I can draw my graph that goes right through them. There is my graph. Let's look at the second one. So here we have, again, my y-intercept is -5, so I'll go ahead and mark it. And then again, choose any x you want. Well, let's say x equals 2. I'm partial to 2's today. Again, I'm looking for a point that would lie on this x equals 2. Plug it into my slope-intercept form, 2. Instead of x, I put 2 because that's what I chose. Minus 5. 4 minus 5 gives me -1, this point right here. So again, I have 2 points, my y-intercept of -5, which I found from the equation, and the point 2, -1, which I calculated. And I'm free to draw a graph through them. Here is our graph. If you have these slightly scary examples where your slope is a fraction, there's just a trick that is very easy to remember. So just like before, we're going to mark our y-intercepts. When you have your slope as a fraction, the easiest way to handle it is to find x that is a multiple of the denominator. So for example, if I have 3 in my denominator, it would be nice to choose x to be 3 or 6 or 9 or something like that. So let's see, if I choose x to be 3, then -1/3 times 3, cancel, plus 3 gives me 2. Let's see if I choose x to be 6. Then it's going to be -1/3 times 6. 3 cancels, we have 2, and there's a minus in front of it, so it's -2. Plus 3, -2 plus 3 is 1. So if x equals 6, then y should be equal 1. So now let's graph those. If x equals 3, I'm looking along this line. Y is 2. So that's my point right here. If x equals 6, again, I'm looking on this line, and y, according to the equation, should be 1. A line that I can draw neatly through all 3 of them. There you go. So, kaboom, kaboom, here's my line. And if I were to find and check whether I drew it correctly, I would look at my slope. So the slope says that I went down, it's a drop, by 2, and I ran by 6. So then -2 over 6 is -1/3, which is exactly my slope that they gave me with the slope-intercept form. Now let's look at our graph on the right. Again, in my denominator I have a 3, so it makes sense to multiply by 3, 6, 9, or -3, -6, -9. But if I choose a negative number, then I'm going to be with the negative number for the first part, and then subtract 5. That will just put me so down. So I will go ahead and choose, let's say, 3. X equals 3. Then y equals times 3, 3 cancels, minus 5. That's 7 minus 5 is 2. So when x equals 3, along this line, I need to find 2, and that will be my point. So here are my 2 points that are enough for me to draw a graph. And bzding, there it goes. Again, to check whether I was correct with my graph, all I need to do is to check the slope. This is a rise of 7, and this is a run of 3. So if I find the slope, it would be 7 over 3, which is exactly what we had in our equation. And that is how you draw a graph if you have a slope-intercept form. Hope that helped.